coming to Patreon. Doja Cat doesn't want kids at her shows. People review brothels on Google with their real names. And lyrical literacy is at an all-time low. Support The Habit at patreon.com/dosabuckley. The rap beef. It's something fairly unique to the genres of rap and hip-hop. From the far more violent origins of the East Coast-West Coast feuds that led to the deaths of maybe two of the most influential rappers of that decade, to modern times when people mostly just talk shit in songs or on social media. It just doesn't happen much in other genres, though. It's really too bad we never got to see Selena Gomez and Ariana Grande call each other babyface cants to try and sell some pop songs, you know? But two of modern rap's biggest names have been in an on-again, off-again battle for over a decade now. Drake and Kendrick Lamar. I don't know how it started. I don't really care. They had previously collaborated together. Now they hate each other. But basically it boils down to Kendrick saying that Drake's about as authentic as Chipotle. Basically that he's a sellout and not a real rapper. And Drake makes fun of the fact that Kendrick isn't as rich and successful as he is. Which is just kind of agreeing with Kendrick. But anyway, the battle is on again. And despite Drake's money and success, I guess he doesn't have any real friends he could call to help him out. Because on his diss track, Tailor-Made Freestyle, which of course is not a freestyle, it's clearly written ahead of time, the people rapping with him were AI. The song includes verses from a fake Snoop Dogg as well as a fake Tupac, who, in their verses, act as sort of cornermen for Kendrick Lamar in this fight, as they're all West Coast rappers. Robo Snoop tells Kendrick that they pass the torch to him, and Robo Tupac says Kendrick is the West Coast savior that they need right now to definitively defeat this Canadian light skin. By doing this, it makes it look like it's not just Drake against Kendrick, it's Drake against the world. And that Kendrick's so bad at this, he can't do it himself. He needs the help of two legends to even try and win. Which, of course, Drake feels he still wins, ending the freestyle by saying that Kendrick's now probably sitting in his apartment struggling to come up with anything to say. Real badass. Claiming to win a rap battle against two robots you wrote lines for. But as badass as when Vince McMahon made himself the champion of his own organization. Anyway, while Snoop appeared to take it as a bit of a joke that his likeness was used in the song without his permission or payment, which seems very unlike a rapper, the estate of Tupac was not happy at all. They threatened to sue Drake if he did not remove the song from all platforms, and stated that the unauthorized, equally dismaying use of Tupac's voice against Kendrick Lamar, a good friend to the estate who has given nothing but respect to Tupac and his legacy publicly and privately, compounds the insult. And so, I guess Drake is in fact afraid of a dead legend, as he complied and pulled the song like a good little boy. Kendrick, by the way, didn't spend too long in his apartment, as like a couple days later, he released a 6-minute song called Euphoria, where he gets real personal. Among some of the more aggressive shots fired, he calls him a hypocrite when it comes to gun violence with the line, "I hate when a rapper talk about guns, then somebody die, they turn into nuns, then hop online like pray for my city, he faking for likes and digital hugs." In response to the fact that Drake has rapped about guns and being a shooter and all this nonsense that we know is simply not true, and then has done anti-gun violence PSAs in Toronto. Kendrick also takes a couple shots at his, blackness? Saying that Tommy Hilfiger stood out, but FUBU never had been your collection. Basically claiming Drake would wear white designers instead of black ones. And that because his mom's a white Jewish woman, that we don't want to hear you saying the N-word no more. So then, it's gotta escalate, like the scene in Roger Rabbit with Daffy and Donald. Drake releases a 7-minute song called Family Matters, where he claims that he heard one of Kendrick Lamar's kids was actually fathered by his best friend and label co-founder Dave Free, and then makes fun of his trans uncle, saying, "Where's your uncle at? I want to speak to the man of the house." and then asks him why he hasn't married his fiancée, why he instead moved to New York, saying, "I'm guessing this wedding ain't happening, right? Because we all know the girls you like." Well, Drake probably shouldn't be talking about the girls that you like, as Kendrick then releases Not Like Us, in which he says, "Say, Drake, I hear you like 'em young. You better not ever go to Cell Block 1. And this is maybe the funniest thing about the feud so far. The cover art for this song is a picture of Drake's mansion with a whole bunch of pins like you'd see on a website that shows where child predators live. I've talked about 2 of these incidents over the years, but this is in reference to the fact that he had a very bizarre relationship with Millie Bobby Brown when she was 14, and was rumored to be dating a girl named Bella Harris, conveniently when she turned 18, but had known her since she was at least 16, and had possibly groomed her. On top of all that, there's footage circulating of Drake kissing a 17-year-old on stage at a concert, knowing she was 17, and saying, "I don't know if I should feel guilty or not, but I had fun." Anyway, by the time this releases, I'm sure it'll already be out of date. As I was writing this, someone shot at Drake's mansion and hit one of his security guards. And then a day later, some other lunatic tried to get on his property. I'm willing to bet Canadian fun bucks that neither of these are connected to Kendrick. They're just crazy assholes trying to insert themselves into something they saw online because that's the world we live in now. But between the 2 of them, they've released something like 8 diss tracks in the last few weeks, and there may be more to come. Never mind a track, there's a whole diss album here. And it's also stupid. It's funny, especially since I really dislike Drake, and he's very clearly losing, unless you can't see that because you've got your forehead on his belly button. But the whole thing is absurd. First off, you should see the credits for some of these songs. Drake's Push-Ups has 4 producers and 3 writers, including himself. He needed 2 other people to write a diss track. And while Kendrick Lamar's Euphoria only credits him as a writer, he has 5 producers and 3 engineers. And while I'm sure their feelings are authentic, no one releases a 6 or 7 minute song that's clearly not actually angry. This whole thing reminds me of YouTube drama. Usually happens when a less successful YouTuber gets under the skin of a more successful YouTuber. Then they go back and forth, generating more views than either of them would normally get. I've always hated that shit. And maybe it's why I'm not as popular now. I'd never play the game. But back in the day when some nobody made a 40-minute video telling me that my 8-minute video sucks or whatever, I just ignored it. But not Drake, and now not only is he being called a pedo by everyone again, he lost his single-day streaming record. Kendrick's Not Like Us beat his previous Spotify record. But at the same time, should Kendrick be proud of that? He broke the single-day streaming record, previously held by Drake, by rapping about Drake. His greatest success will always be tied to Drake. Is that what you wanted? Anyway, the interesting part of this story, to me, was the AI stuff. Kendrick and Drake are 2 dogs barking on opposite sides of the fence. Call me when they're in the same fucking park together, when they stop having this little verbal slap fight, and we see if they're really ready to throw down East Coast, West Coast style. I don't think they are. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if one day they shake hands and collaborate again to make even more money. No, the part that's interesting is, can anyone, own a voice, man? The estate of Tupac certainly thinks so, as they have previously licensed out the dead man's likeness for that relatively controversial hologram. But no one actually wants to fight this in court. The estate of comedian George Carlin recently threatened to sue a podcast called Dudesy after they made an entire 1-hour special called I'm Glad I'm Dead, featuring a George Carlin AI voice telling jokes that George would have told if he were alive today. Dudesy, which features Will Sasso of Mad TV and "Oh, that guy, he's in stuff" fame, took it down almost immediately, rather than actually fight it in court because I think everyone knows they would lose, and no one wants to be the asshole who actually sets that precedent. No one wants to be the guy who spoils the fun for everyone else, because it would mean no more of the funny Biden or Joe Rogan videos. Or maybe they don't care about that at all. Maybe they just know they don't want to lose hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of dollars. We know Drake doesn't want a real fight. He's happy to throw bottles from a safe distance, allegedly, and he's happy to rap battle a fake Tupac. And he'll talk about pulling a gun in his songs, but the only thing he's pulling in real life is his own dick on camera. But you know, Drake and Tupac kind of have something in common. Some people believe that Tupac faked his own death, while we have more and more evidence every day that Drake has faked his own life.